Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here. So today we're going to talk about how to close the gap and align people programs with business performance. And this is not a typical webinar. I would love you to ask questions. I want it to be interactive. I don't want to just be talking to you. So please feel free to ask questions or comment in the comment box. So today specifically, we're going to be exploring the ROI of prevention versus crisis management, the missing link between well-being and performance, future-ready power skills, and a model for building teams that win. You'll walk away with a clear idea on how to align your people programs directly with your company's growth. So both your company and your bottom line, so both your employees and your bottom line can thrive. You are in the right place if you expect employees to deliver business results. You demand higher productivity and effectiveness from your employees. You invest in your employee well-being and success. You are struggling with retention, absenteeism, presenteeism, or engagement. You haven't seen ROI on well-being programs, or you want to change your company's profits, performance, and LT growth trajectory. I also just want to say thank you so much for being here and for all you do. In my work with Wondersource, I've had the pleasure of meeting so many people in HR who are responsible for their people's development, and the work you are doing is so important. So thank you so much. This is not for you if your well-being plans are delivering your desired results or you are happy with your company's retention, growth, and productivity metrics. In return for today, I ask that you turn off distractions and you keep an open mind, and let's have fun here. I also am setting the intention that you walk away with exactly what you need from today's session, something really valuable and practical that you can apply right away. So maybe it's going to be a new insight to help your company's future growth or a way to lead with more empathy, or just a reminder to extend yourself some self-compassion. My vision is that you leave feeling empowered, grounded, and inspired to take aligned action. So let's begin. So imagine you have an important initiative coming up and your valued employee is checked out, stressed, or even decides to leave, citing burnout as the cause. Now, this is something I could very much relate to. I was VP of sales at an AI startup. I had big goals and lots of drive, but despite outward success, I was struggling with insomnia, anxiety, and burnout. My doctor's advice was meditate more, but I really knew something deeper was going on. So medical testing revealed that my cortisol levels were out of balance. And with the right protocol, adjusting nutrition, stress, exercise, and lifestyle, I was sleeping through the night within 10 days. The change was remarkable. But it led me to dive deeper into what was causing stress in the first place, my subconscious programming, my nervous system, my perfectionist tendencies. I trained in all these different areas and I learned so much. But what struck me most was how little support existed for professionals just like me and how much that affected performance and companies' bottom lines. That led me to create a scalable business model that could help driven business professionals to thrive and CHROs and people leaders like you to sleep peacefully without worrying about resignations, turnover, burnout, and low performance. This is a really important issue because burnout leads to health, performance, and retention issues, and it is a massive business risk. When stress goes unmanaged, it affects creativity, engagement, productivity, decisions. But when employees have the tools to regulate stress and build resilience, the power skills to excel, performance comes back online very quickly. I built Wondersource because it's the program I wished I'd had when I was VP of sales. It's the program I wish my colleagues had, my family members had. It gives leaders the knowledge, practices, and tools to stay healthy, resilient, and performing at their best. Unfortunately, today, many organizations struggle to see real ROI from their wellness programs because they are not either valued or aligned to business goals, and we are changing that. So if you have wellness support, I would love to know, is it actually supporting your business objectives? Maybe yes, no, or you don't know. Just take a second to see, okay? Or you can just think about it. Okay, so Now I'm going to talk about a lot of myths that we see coming up in this space that is really holding companies back. So the first myth we see is that mental health isn't directly impacting revenue. The truth is, according to Deloitte, for every £1 spent on employee well-being support, companies receive an average £5 in return. Oxford found that companies with higher well-being scores outperform the market, have higher valuations, and greater profitability. Now, this was based on millions of data points, and what was remarkable was that this was true across industries and also predictive of future performance. McKinsey found similar. Companies prioritizing health see measurable benefits, including higher productivity, reduced absenteeism, lower healthcare costs, and stronger engagement and retention. And this is also just to say there's so much talk about how Gen Z and millennials are burnt out, but really CEOs and executives are also feeling the effects. You can see here in this graph, symptoms of burnout run at roughly the same level among employees and executives. So supporting executives is a strategic risk management and essential for sustainable growth. Another myth we see coming up is that employees really don't care about wellness programs and utilization is low. When in fact, according to research from Ipsos-NAMI, employees actually express really high demand for mental health education and resources. 90% believe offering mental health care benefits positively impact workplace culture. 74%, according to a Monster poll, report poor mental health at work today, and 81% of workers are actively seeking employers who demonstrate real commitment. On top of that, in 2024, mental health was the largest global health concern, the largest health concern amongst people globally. So that's ahead of cancer, stress, and obesity. So all that to say, like mental health is a big concern and employees want to learn more, they want more support. Another myth we see is that it must be hard to do well, scale, or systemize. So it's true that one-off counseling sessions or mindfulness apps might feel nice, but they won't really move the needle on business results. But from what we've seen, with the right training and support, addressing the nervous system, subconscious mind, mindset, emotional health, and key power skills, employees really can feel supported, well-resourced, and create empowered, meaningful, lasting, and change. And this doesn't have to be too hard. There are very specific reasons that our mental health suffers, and there are ways to address and prevent them that lead to meaningful change. And the last myth we're going to talk about today is that AI will make employees more productive automatically. The truth is, according to McKinsey, employees are actually far more ready for AI than companies believe. What they're finding is that the real gap is leadership. Companies are falling behind because leaders aren't moving boldly enough. So productivity gains come from humans who know how to use AI effectively. But without the right mindset, mental fitness, emotional resilience, employees can feel threatened or overwhelmed by AI, leading to stress, burnout, and resistance instead of innovation. This is what we've been seeing a lot with a lot of companies feeling like they're not getting the ROI on their AI investments. On top of this, we're facing a confidence crisis in leadership. The gap between how leaders rate the effectiveness of their leadership skills compared to their team's perception of them has increased by 75% since 2019. So leaders aren't feeling confident enough to move boldly with AI. We believe AI will create real value when leaders are trusting themselves to make decisive moves, empowering teams instead of over-controlling them, building psychological safety so people can experiment and learn, train people and themselves to adapt continuously, strengthen resilience, and develop emotional intelligence to manage through fear and change. So what does this all mean for business? Like, why should we care about all this? Well, firstly, health and soft skills solutions aren't being valued or invested in. According to a report from Canada Life, only 36% of employees say their workplace offers programs to prevent burnout. There is still stigma, and employees feel judged using solutions. And as much as growth mindset is really championed in the business world, there's still a sense that successful people should just inherently be confident and have these skills, but they really don't. And as a result, employees really are suffering. Over 60% of American adults have a chronic illness. One in three middle managers are disengaged. 62% report unsustainable stress, and employee dissatisfaction is at a 15-year high. Another way this is showing up is that costs are rising and culture and financial performance are suffering. So, for example, employees leave and replacing an employee can cost up to 213% of their salary. The hidden cost of employee sickness in the UK alone was 103 billion, and 25 billion of that was a result of lost productivity. The share of workers taking mental health leave is up 300% from pre-pandemic levels. And a recent study revealed that burnout costs employers between 4,000 and 21,000 per employee. So for a 1,000 company, that's 5 million in annual losses. That's huge. And Canada Life found similar, with nearly 40% of Canadian employees dealing with burnout and costing companies with 500 employees about 3 million. On top of this, 85% of employees feel burnt out and exhausted, and nearly half have taken time off work to deal with mental health challenges. So this is really like a challenge for employees and for companies. It's costing a lot of money. According to this report from Deloitte, in finance and insurance, the annual cost per employee with poor mental health is actually the highest at over 5,000 per year. Another way this shows up is that companies aren't future-proofing their businesses. So they're focused on short-term goals, but they're not considering how are we going to develop, how are we going to stay competitive. According to the World Economic Forum, 39% of workers' core skills will become obsolete by 2030. Without a preventative approach, 50% of employees will experience a mental health condition. And one in three C-suite executives constantly struggles with fatigue and poor mental health, with 70% having considered quitting their jobs to reset their emotional balance. These numbers are huge. And then 45% of CEOs do not think their company will be economically viable 10 years from now if it continues on its current path. So really, we're not mitigating risk and future-proofing our businesses. So the takeaway we believe is that companies can't afford not to invest. And if traditional well-being programs haven't been used or tied to business results, it's just time to deliver them differently. The good news is that times really are changing. According to Mercer, 75% of employers say they'll offer digital resources for better mental health and resiliency in 2026. So people are changing how they're thinking about this now. According to Gartner, growth tops the list for CEOs' strategic priorities for 2025 and 2026. And it's employees who take companies there. So we really have to be investing in the skills for our employees to take our companies to the next level. I love this quote from Oliver Grohman, the head of HR at Emirates Groups. He says, "We need to have the courage to challenge old ways of working to meet the needs of a changing workforce." EAPs that were built for the 70s are not really fit for the modern workforce. The modern workforce needs a lot more support in different ways. So now we're going to talk about how to actually amplify the impact of well-being and soft skills programs so you can get the most out of them. So one of the first things is you want to provide deeper support that builds health and resilience. Programs that strengthen the nervous system, self-compassion, emotional intelligence, and mental health drive measurable improvements in both well-being and performance. According to that report from Ipsonami, the majority of employees actually find all mental health training topics helpful, from stress management to identifying crisis. So, we want to evolve how we're providing these, but we also just want to offer something, because something I think is better than nothing. So if solutions don't address the mind-body connection, the nervous system, subconscious patterns, and emotional patterns, they just really won't create lasting change. There's that book, The Body Keeps Score, and the body really does keep score. This is why often talk therapy alone doesn't work, because it's not getting to the deeper layers that are holding people back. So the takeaway is we want to provide meaningful support that goes deeper and allows employees to create meaningful change and feel really supported. So another thing we want to do is we want to boost ROI by investing in high impact power skills like communication, problem solving, empathy. When you take communication, for example, a single employee earning between 50,000 and 100,000 loses 35 working days per year due to ineffective communication. So imagine how expensive that is, but not only how expensive it is, it's so stressful. So we want to be up-leveling our workforce on skills that are impacting their confidence and their ability to work effectively, but also like reducing stress. Harvard Business Review shows that soft skills are now more important than ever. There's so much talk about AI, but what they found is that as technical complexity rises, the glue that keeps teams productive is not more hard skills. It's actually communication, empathy, conflict resolution, collaboration, critical thinking, and problem solving. Also, I just want to say I can share this deck later if anybody would be interested. So another thing we want to do is we really want to value psychological safety. I'm not sure if you've heard about Project Aristotle. This was something that Google launched in 2012, and the goal was to identify the factors that separate average teams from exceptional ones. And at the heart of the study was one really key discovery that psychological safety is the single most critical factor in team success. And I love that. There's a lot of sort of different definitions of psychological safety, but I'm going to share this one from Amy Edmondson, who's done a lot of research on psychological safety. So, psychological safety is a shared belief among employees that they can take risks, share opinions, and be themselves in the workplace without potential negative retribution, such as having their competence questioned, being criticized, or becoming involved in non-constructive conflicts. So, the cornerstone of any successful well-being program is psychological safety. We really want to be fostering this culture of psychological safety in the workplace. And that begins with leaders modeling healthy practices and demonstrating empathy. Here are some very specific ways of how they found how we can develop psychological safety. So it's encouraging equal participation, ensuring all voices are heard, modeling vulnerability, sharing your own mistakes and lessons, reward risk taking, recognize team members for proposing bold ideas, even if they don't work out, fostering feedback, creating a safe space for constructive criticism and use it as a tool for growth, and connecting work to purpose. So really helping team members see the broader impact of their efforts. And these things are really what sets exceptional teams apart from average ones. So there's so much incentive to get this right. Another thing we want to do is it sort of touches on the previous points, but it's such an important point that I wanted a separate slide for it, is we want to develop leaders because AI is advancing fast and it's really raising the bar for leadership. Leaders, as McKinsey found in their research, leaders must advance boldly today to avoid becoming uncompetitive tomorrow. So to lead effectively in this new era, leaders need the inner capacity to make bold strategic decisions. It means developing things like deep self-trust, confident decision-making, openness and continuous learning, communicating clear and aligned, and focusing on empowering people, not just deploying tools. So to unlock the ROI of AI, supporting leaders and employees isn't optional anymore. It's really a performance strategy. If we want to get the most out of these AI investments, we need to support people to feel confident, to be able to use it, to have the right mindset, the right resilience. And this is just one last thing on this specific point, which I love so much. According to McKinsey, S&P 500 companies that excel at maximizing their return on talent generate 300% more revenue per employee. And one of the key things they did was they prioritized talent investments as much as financial investments. So I found this so powerful because imagine you can generate 300% more revenue per employee. Now, that kind of sounds a bit vague, like how do you actually apply that? One of the things they suggest is research existing critical talent pools in the relevant sector, as well as comparisons with best-in-class peers, and that can help leaders set talent priorities that reflect market realities. So another thing we want to do to get the most and to amplify the impact of our programs is we really want to build trust with employees. So when you say something is confidential or that you value well-being and development, we want to make sure that employees believe us. So we also want to proactively address workplace dynamics that contribute to stress, anxiety, and loneliness. So takeaways: show you care by reducing stressors, offering flexibility, don't tolerate things like unnecessary rudeness or blame, communicate expectations, recognize hard work. And what we see is that employees really do want to learn and grow. In past programs we've ran, employees are taking notes, asking questions, doing homework. There really is that drive to learn and to grow in this area, but stigma still does exist. So we want to be celebrating people who invest in their potential. So a way you can show you value it is by communicating access and highlighting how leaders are using tools to support themselves. It's amazing how many people, how many employees we've spoken to where they didn't even know how to access their programs. So when you think about it, that sort of shows that companies aren't communicating it enough. They're not valuing it. And that's the message that employees are getting. I spoke to a head of HR at an insurance company in Canada, and as soon as they started to actually communicate more about it, the usage went up so much. So it sounds simple, but we want to show that we value it. So stop the stigma. Things we can do is listen with empathy. Education also lowers stigma. As people start to learn what mental health is, we stop seeing it as this thing that's like for sort of weak people, and we treat it like physical health. It's something that we have to work on, like our physical health. So yeah, we want to value growth, protect confidentiality, and communicate the value. This is just a quote that I love from Toto Wolff. He's a billionaire investor and CEO of Mercedes F1 team, and he talks about his mental health. And I think sharing stories of, celebrities, of successful people where they're vulnerable and they share their kind of struggles to let people know that they're not alone, I think that can be really powerful. Whenever I've talked about this quote or different quotes from, celebrities or they feel seen. They feel really like, oh, it's really empowering for them. So he even says, if any one of them would have come forward and said, I suffer from mental health issues, that would have given me hope. It would have made things easier because it would have empowered my dreams. So, he's obviously done very well for himself in his career. So yeah, we want to see it as a good thing when we're investing in ourselves, when we're learning and we're growing. Another thing we want to consider is that higher ROI can always be achieved by early interventions. So prevention is always going to be more affordable and effective than recovery. But traditional EAPs don't really cater to the diverse mental health needs across generations and cultures. So we want to offer new approaches, offer holistic solutions that meet employees where they are. So for some, for example, they may be working on their diet or their sleep. Others may want to work on their subconscious programs. Others may want to work on their confidence, or their communication skills. So offering a holistic approach means more people will use it and more people will get the value and grow their skills. Scalability and cost also matter because impact should be reaching everyone. So real change happens when every level of your company is supported, not just senior leaders or select high performers. As we shared in that slide before, even CEOs are being affected. So this is something that we want the whole company to be supported in this way by. When you take managers, for example, they influence 70% of the variance in employee engagement. So we always want to make sure that our managers are being supported. And traditional EAPs cap support at 3 to 5 sessions. So that's not nearly enough for deep lasting change. Like it might be nice in the moment, but it's not going to, support them on a deeper level to be able to kind of show up more confidently and have those skills that we want them to have. And while one-off workshops can definitely inspire, and that's great to offer those, it's really ongoing development that's going to transform people. So scalable, cost-effective solutions turn well-being from a perk or a charity into measurable business driver. And I love this quote from Mark Cuban. I really think that we're going to start seeing a trend for healthcare CFOs in any company with more than 1,000 employees, where there's somebody focused on the economics and wellness of their employees. So I don't know what you think. Maybe we still are a little way away from that, but this just drives home the point of how important it is for us to be getting this right, because the cost of doing nothing is so high. So another thing we want to be doing is we want to be measuring effectiveness because what you measure, you can actually grow. So you want to decide on clear metrics, like what do we actually think as a company? What skills do we believe that our employees will need to grow this company so that we can actually be an economically viable company in 10 years from now? We can ask even things like, are employees better off? Are they better able to manage stress? Are they collaborating more effectively? Now, according to Deloitte, only 1 to 2% of companies are using well-being data to measure ROI. So the bar is very low here. Even just asking some questions and tracking some things will help. But because to achieve the positive outcomes in well-being, we really want to understand what the current state of the workforce's well-being is, how initiatives are performing, and what can improve. So if you measure it, if you treasure it, we want to measure it. And just going back to the point we talked about before about trust, you want to make sure that people believe that the questions we're asking are confidential. And I've spoken to people in the past where they don't want to share that maybe they're struggling because they feel that they're going to be judged for that. So we want to make sure that that's not there. It's a normal thing. Employees, as we saw, 78% today are struggling with their mental health. So we really want to take away the stigma and the judgment from it because it's not something to be judged. And then finally, we really want to give employees opportunities for advanced learning so they can take their wellness and power skills to the next level. Your workforce holds far more potential than most realize, and they want to learn and grow. This is what I was mentioning before. In the past, when we worked with teams, they were taking notes, asking questions, doing homework. Like there really is an appetite for this. I love this quote from Charlie Munger. He was Warren Buffett's right-hand man, and he says, "I constantly see people rise in life who are not the smartest, sometimes not even the most diligent, but they are learning machines. They go to bed every night a little wiser." So we want to help turn your workforce into a learning machine. So the new belief that we all need to have is that companies that invest in mental fitness and soft skills aren't being nice. They're building the most competitive companies of the next decade. We believe the future belongs to companies that are investing smart, not just in more things, that are equipping employees with tools that drive real, measurable change, and that understand that mental fitness and resilience aren't nice to haves. They fuel performance, retention, and growth. And all leaders need support. So why this matters, hopefully at this point, it's a little bit more obvious, but basically we want healthy employees to run a healthy business. We don't drive performance by ignoring mental health. We drive turnover and poor performance. So it's really time to stop treating well-being it's time to start treating well-being like strategy and not charity. We really need to change that story because as we've seen, as that Oxford study showed, when employees build resilience, sharpen skills, and strengthen well-being, performance can skyrocket. And just like athletes, business leaders need ongoing training. Athletes are training their minds, they're training their bodies, not because they believe they're weak. They're training because they know how much potential they have. And this is the same kind of belief we want to bring to our business leaders. We're putting a lot of stress on our bodies. We want to be training our minds to open up to possibilities, to believe in ourselves, to be able to manage stress and move forward confidently, even in uncertainty, in complexity. And as we shared, the ROI is clear. So I am not sure why you showed up today. Maybe you're frustrated that your people are chronically stressed and it's costing you significantly in absenteeism and presenteeism, turnover, and disengagement. It could be that employees are now expecting much more of their companies and you're not sure how to support them meaningfully. This is what we're actually hearing a lot these days, that people are coming to their HR leaders expecting coaching, therapy, all these things, and people aren't clear how to actually support them. Or maybe you heard the buzz around how Wondersource empowers companies to build teams that win, and you wanted to see if it could work for your company too. What we believe moves the needle is a highly engaging all-in-one platform that delivers value in key areas, is scalable, and aligned to your business objectives. And I believe that you don't need massive budgets or years of waiting. You can start today building a culture where people and profits can thrive together. So I'm going to take a few minutes now just to talk about Wondersource, and then I will ask some questions. I would love to know if you have questions, but yeah, I'm going to share a little bit about what we're building at Wondersource. So Wondersource builds top teams that shape the future through a mental fitness and soft skills platform that boosts productivity, retention, engagement, and employee health. This is our platform. We have a daily practice library with tools like tapping, hypnosis, yoga nidra, meditations for stress, sleep, confidence, mindset, leadership, rewiring the subconscious mind, and so much more. The subconscious mind is responsible for 95% of our beliefs and our actions and how we show up. So we want to help leaders and employees go deeper and really transform themselves so that they can show up more powerfully. We have science-backed courses with about the nervous system health, emotional regulation, mental fitness, emotional intelligence, and we will continue to be adding more around mindset, women's health, resilience for AI, and as well as future-ready soft skills, things like communication, creativity, leadership, navigating uncertainty, problem solving. We believe that by equipping employees with the tools to strengthen their nervous system, reprogram limiting beliefs, take a preventative and holistic approach to health, and grow in confidence and soft skills, we unlock empowerment, engagement, and productivity at scale. So, do you believe that a system that supports your employees with key soft skills and mental health could also boost your revenue? I would love to know. Yes, no, don't know. Feel free to drop it in and no need. Okay. So we believe that most companies have two choices. They can waste millions to absenteeism, presenteeism, poor mental health, disengagement, ghost working, or they can break the norm and fast track employee health and performance with Wondersource's comprehensive empowered intelligence platform. Imagine. Imagine having employees feel valued and ready to go above and beyond, knowing you invest in their well-being and skills. Employees have a support system that's readily accessible for those tough moments when they're feeling stressed or anxious, or to grow and elevate over time. Each employee can choose what they want to focus on, from nervous system mastery to confidence, self-awareness to abundance mindset, emotional intelligence to sleep, confidence, public speaking, and so much more. And don't worry, we shared before that burnout can cost companies between 4,000 and 21,000 per employee annually. So for a 1,000 person company, that's 5 million to employers annually. And this is not going to cost you anywhere near that. So even if not all your employees would use a well-being platform, wouldn't it make sense to put some money towards it to lower that cost of 5 million? So whether you are a company with employees struggling with stress and mental health, a company with a talented workforce ready to invest in growth and performance, a leader aligned with the research showing that 39% of employees' core skills will be obsolete by 2030, a company that wants to cut their rising healthcare costs, as we saw with that quote from Mark Cuban, and also get the most out of their AI investments, or just a change maker who values your team and wants to invest in them accordingly, knowing that their potential is limitless. Wondersource is built for you. Teams we've worked with in the past became far more confident in their ability to lead. They built powerful working relationships, developed greater self-awareness, and felt resourced. I love this quote from someone we worked with. I feel like the best boss for choosing Wondersource. We now discuss these topics together outside of our sessions, and everyone is learning so much. It couldn't have gone better. And this is what I want for your workforce. I want them to feel supported, healthier, empowered, and confident. These are just some of the results that we got, which I shared. So what's the next step? You can book a discovery call with me to discuss the best path forward. I'm going to share a link with you in a few minutes. And you can expect to get access within 1 week of sign up if you're interested to sign up. And for today, for being here today, we're offering this as $59 per year per employee. And every employee will get annual access to courses, tools and resources, nervous system training, 20-minute one-to-one onboarding calls so we can share how to get the most out of the platform and really provide them with bigger support so they feel really supported. Community and ongoing support with live monthly calls. And we basically, just to say, we have discounts as you sign up more employees. So we're here to support you at Wondersource. Thank you so, so much for being here. And I would love to take any questions. And yeah,